Have you ever heard the term digital sovereignty? It might sound a little, abstract and governmental, but it's actually one of the biggest ideas shaping our online world right now. And at its heart, it's all about a pretty simple question.
No, really, think about it. The cloud service that holds all your family photos, the social media apps you scroll through every day, the search engines you use to find, well, everything. Who actually owns and operates the plumbing of your digital life? For Europe, the answer to that question has become a huge, flashing red light.
Just look at this. It's kind of staggering, right? A whopping 92% of Europe's cloud computing market is in the hands of non-EU companies, and most of those are American. We're not just talking about a few popular apps here. This is the fundamental digital infrastructure that an entire continent runs on.
And that level of dependency has a name. Policymakers are calling it a strategic vulnerability. It's a fancy way of saying that when you don't control your own digital backbone, you're exposed. Decisions made in Silicon Valley boardrooms or in Washington, D.C. can have a massive impact on Europe's economy, its security, even its ability to function.
So what's the plan? How does Europe get out of this vulnerable position? Well, the answer is this big, ambitious idea that's become the North Star for all of its tech policy: digital sovereignty. It's about taking back the reins in the digital age.
Let's break down the official definition, because the wording is really important. It's not about building some kind of fortress Europe and shutting everyone out. The key phrases here are act autonomously and freely choose. It's about having the independence to make your own choices about technology instead of having them dictated to you, all while still playing ball with the rest of the world.
And this little phrase, it's the perfect summary. It's the unofficial motto of the whole project. The goal is to stay open, to stay connected to the global digital economy, but to do it from a position of strength, not from a position of total dependence. Open for business, but not a pushover.
So how do you actually do that? How do you go from being vulnerable to being sovereign? Well, the EU's strategy really boils down to two main things. You have to build power and you have to wield power.
And this two-pronged attack is absolutely crucial. Building power is the industrial part. It's about boosting Europe's own tech industry. Think of things like the EU Chips Act, which is a massive investment to get more microchips made right there in Europe. Then there's wielding power, which is where the EU really flexes its muscles as a regulator. This is where you get world-changing laws like GDPR for data privacy or the brand new AI Act, which are all about setting the rules of the road for the entire digital world.
This image really helps you see how they picture it all fitting together. And what's super interesting is where it starts, right at the core, with people. The idea is that true sovereignty begins by giving citizens digital rights and skills. That provides the foundation for competitive markets, which need secure infrastructure to run on. And only then, at the very outer layer, do you have governance, the rules and laws that make sure the whole system runs according to European values. It's a vision built from the ground up.
Okay, but here's the catch, and it's a big one. For all this grand planning and ambition, there's a potential Achilles heel in the whole strategy. A major gap between what Europe wants to do and what it can actually do.
And this is the core tension right here. On one hand, the ambition is huge, to be the world's referee for the digital age, setting the standards everyone else follows. But on the other hand, the reality is that it's a massive struggle to get some of the world's biggest tech giants who aren't based in the EU to actually play by those rules. It creates this huge credibility problem.
I mean, it really all boils down to this, doesn't it? You can write the smartest, most thoughtful, most protective regulations in the world, but if you don't have the power to make them stick, they're not much more than a strongly worded suggestion. Real sovereignty isn't just about writing the law, it's about enforcing it.
Now let's zoom out for a second, because this fight over enforcement isn't just a little European squabble. It's a key battle in a much, much bigger global contest over the future of the internet itself.
You can basically see three competing visions for how the digital world should be run. You've got the EU model, which is all about protecting fundamental rights. It's rights-based. Then you have the US model, which is much more market-driven, prioritizing innovation and a hands-off approach. And finally, there's the state-centric model you see in China, where the government keeps tight control over the digital sphere to achieve its own goals.
And that's why this matters to every single one of us, no matter where we live. The rest of the world is watching. If the EU can actually enforce its rules and prove that this rights-based model works, it could become the blueprint for other democracies. But if it fails, one of those other models might just win out.
So that leaves us with this one last big question to think about. In a digital world dominated by a few powerful companies and competing global powers,
What does sovereignty really mean? Because if your rules can't be enforced, are they really rules at all? Are they just suggestions? The answer to that is going to define the internet for generations to come.